wanted to talk a little bit about working in these conditions, because you have to be very careful with your training that it doesn't always take place under optimum perfect conditions. So when it's like this, out cold, snow, ice, or it's really hot, or any slightly more extreme weather, you should look at it as an opportunity. And what you have to, the way to approach it is you have to think, what disadvantages does it give you and what advantages does it give you? Now, with the snow and ice, obviously the two biggest factors are the temperature and the fact that underfoot it's not as firm as it usually is. So you have to look at how you put that into your work. And if your striking work, for example, is based totally around one idea, you might find when the conditions change, then things can go a bit wrong. So this is actually not too slippy here. It's kind of softening up a bit. But if we went over to the street and we're on the pavement and everything else, now if my striking work is fully dependent on me loading this leg and working out from here, as I found when I did this the other day out on my decking, you push down, the foot goes back. The foot going back is not conducive to powering a punch. Plus you fall over and you feel a bit silly. So the first thing is, the striking method, you have to be able to work without that downward pressure. So we come back to this idea of pendulum or floating rather than sinking down into your legs. So you can still get power from using the body without having to really engage the legs. The legs are engaged because you're standing up, but you're not putting pressure down. Everything is coming up and out. So that's one thing. The second thing is, again, when you're doing any kind of work, is you need to make sure that you don't take big steps. Because when I take a big step, my weight can be sort of caught in between the two legs. When I take a small step, the weight can always be posted over the leg. So again, I'm not caught in this position. If something starts slipping, then I'm sort of half and half. If I'm here and this starts slipping, it's easy to transfer to the other leg. So again, your work has to work with that setup. It's no good if I'm doing a throw, if I need to rely on this kind of stance in these conditions. I've got to be able to work from here as well. So I need good movement in shoulders and everything else. So that's the first thing. The conditions dictate how you work, and you should be prepared for all those different conditions. There's another type of work. See, this is working in cold weather, and there's also cold weather work. We haven't really got the facilities to do that here today because you have to prepare for it. Cold weather work is more about getting used to this environment and being able to work in it. So it's also working on our resilience, because who wants to be out in the cold when you can be in a nice warm room? But it also teaches you how to deal with stress again. So normally what you do for that is you get rid of all the warm clothing and we'd be out here working in shorts. And we can do various things to make you even colder than you might think. So that sort of work is over a more extended period of time, and that is to teach you how to cope. So you come back to how do you use the breathing to regulate your core temperature to some extent. How do you use movement and exercise to restore yourself or maintain yourself, and as I said, it teaches you to build up that resilience of, no, I can get through this, because at some point it's going to be like, I've kind of had enough of this, so you carry on. Now you can do that to some extent with the cold water dowsing, which is good. It's a good practice, and it's good for health and a lot of other things as well. But it can be a little bit like, I come out of my nice warm house into my garden, oh, I'm all prepped up, away I go, oh, I feel good about myself, and then I go back and sit in front of the fire again. When you're outside for an extended period of time, it's more of a challenge. But you have to be aware with that. There's a few things. You have to be working with people who know what they're doing. The work has to be prepared. So, for example, you would need like a thermos flask with some hot tea or soup or something, and other bits and pieces. And the third thing is, you never ever do that kind of work on your own. Don't think, I'm going to challenge myself, put on my Speedos and I'm going to go out into that field, because I tell you now, no one will ever see you again. Well, they will, but, you know, because with hypothermia, you don't know that you're getting it, you know. It's not like, oh, I feel a bit, it's a very disorientating process, and if you're out on your own, you won't know where you are or what's happening, and the tendency is for people just to go to sleep, okay? So any of that kind of work should be done under supervision. But it is very good work to do, and then when you come back just to working outside in this kind of thing with nice warm clothes, then well, that's easy, really. What's the big deal, you know? With the idea of weather conditions and the differences that apply from normal training is, of course, the other person's clothing as well. If they've got a lot of thick clothing on, or you've got a lot of thick clothing on, and maybe thick gloves and everything else, then punching work will be affected, which is the downside. The upside is, if you're working knife stuff, you've got like a little extra layer of protection, and also the other upside is, of course, you can start working with the clothing as well. So the point is, like, conditions are never optimal, so you have to train yourself to recognise the pros and cons of each situation as well. The other, just the way you approach your training with that as well is being a bee or a fly, okay? You can look out the window on a morning like this and you think, what a great opportunity to go out in the snow, and, you know, or you can think, actually, you know, I think I'll phone it, I can't make it today, the car's broken down, you know. So already just by coming out, you're kind of building resilience. And I say bee or fly because a bee goes out and takes the opportunity to collect pollen and comes back and makes honey. A fly goes out looking for shit. It's up to you. Okay.